An emaciated 8-year-old Russian girl looks into the camera lens during the liberation of Dachau concentration camp in 1945. Dachau was the first German concentration camp. Opened in 1933, more than 200,000 people were detained between 1933 and 1945, and 31,591 deaths were declared, most from disease, malnutrition, and suicide. Unlike Auschwitz, Dachau was not explicitly an extermination camp, but conditions were so horrific that hundreds died every week. Czesława Kwoka, age 14, appears in a prisoner identity photo provided by the Auschwitz Museum, taken by Wilhelm Brass while working in the photography department at Auschwitz, the Nazi-run death camp where some 1.5 million people, most of them Jewish, died during World War II. Czesława was a Polish Catholic girl from Łódź, Poland, who was sent to Auschwitz with her mother in December of 1942. Within 3 months, both were dead. Photographer and fellow prisoner Brass recalled photographing Czesława in a 2005 documentary. She was so young and so terrified. The girl didn't understand why she was there, and she couldn't understand what was being said to her. So this woman Kapo, a prisoner overseer, took a stick and beat her about the face. This German woman was just taking out her anger on the girl. Such a beautiful young girl, so innocent. She cried, but she could do nothing. Before the photograph was taken, the girl dried her tears and the blood from the cut on her lip. To tell you the truth, I felt as if I was being hit myself, but I couldn't interfere. It would have been fatal for me. The Soviet Army reached Auschwitz on January 27, 1945. By that time, an estimated 1,500,000 Jews, along with 500,000 Polish prisoners, Soviet Poles and Gypsies, had perished there. As the Western Allies pushed into Germany in the spring of 1945, they liberated Buchenwald, Bergen-Belsen, and Dachau. This photo, provided by Paris Holocaust Memorial, shows a German soldier shooting a Ukrainian Jew during a mass execution in Vinnytsia, Ukraine, sometime between 1941 and 1943. This image is titled, "The Last Jew in Vinnytsia." The text that was written on the back of the photograph, which was found in a photo album belonging to a German soldier. German soldiers questioned Jews after the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising in 1943. In October 1940, the Germans began to concentrate Poland's population of over 3 million Jews into overcrowded ghettos. In the largest of these, the Warsaw Ghetto, thousands of Jews died due to rampant disease and starvation, even before the Nazis began their massive deportations from the ghetto to the Treblinka extermination camp. The Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, the first urban mass rebellion against the Nazi occupation of Europe, took place from April 19th until May 16th, 1943, and began after German troops and police entered the ghetto to deport its surviving inhabitants. It ended when the poorly armed and supplied resistance was crushed by German troops. Anne Frank poses in 1941 in this photo made available by Anne Frank House in Amsterdam, Netherlands. In August of 1944, Anne, her family and others who were hiding from the occupying German security forces were all captured and shipped off to a series of prisons and concentration camps. Anne died from typhus at age 15 in Bergen-Belsen concentration camp, but her posthumously published diary has made her a symbol of all Jews killed in World War II. A group of Jews, including a small boy, is escorted from the Warsaw Ghetto by German soldiers in this April 19, 1943 photo. The picture formed part of a report from SS Gen Stroop to his commanding officer and was introduced as evidence to the war crimes trials in Nuremberg in 1945. A German in a military uniform shoots at a Jewish woman after a mass execution in Nizhny, Ukraine. In October of 1942, The 1,700 people in the Mazach ghetto fought with Ukrainian auxiliaries and German policemen who had intended to liquidate the population. About half the residents were able to flee or hide during the confusion before the uprising was finally put down. The captured survivors were taken to a ravine and shot. Photo provided by Paris Holocaust Memorial. A victim of Nazi medical experimentation. A victim's arm shows a deep burn from phosphorus at Ravensbrück, Germany. In November of 1943, the photograph shows the results of a medical experiment dealing with phosphorus that was carried out by doctors at Ravensbrück. In the experiment, a mixture of phosphorus and rubber was applied to the skin and ignited. After 20 seconds, the fire was extinguished with water. After 3 days, the burn was treated with echinacin in liquid form. After 2 weeks, the wound had healed. This photograph, taken by a camp physician, was entered as evidence during the doctor's trial at Nuremberg. The Nazis then began carefully tallying up the actual figures and also required Jews to register all of their assets. But the overall question remained as to what to do with the millions of Jews now under Nazi control, referred to by the Nazis themselves as the Judenfrage, Jewish question. The following year, 1941, would be the turning point. In June, Hitler took a tremendous military gamble by invading the Soviet Union. These women had been forced to disrobe and then pose for the camera. December 15, 1941, they were executed after the photo was taken. Starved prisoners, nearly dead from hunger, pose in a concentration camp in Ebensee, Austria. On May 7, 1945, the camp was reputedly used for scientific experiments. After the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising, the ghetto was completely destroyed. Of the more than 56,000 Jews captured, about 7,000 were shot, and the remainder were deported to killing centers or concentration camps. This is a view of the remains of the ghetto, which the German SS dynamited to the ground. The Warsaw Ghetto only existed for a few years, and in that time, some 300,000 Polish Jews lost their lives there. That summer, Swiss representatives of the World Jewish Congress received information from a German industrialist regarding the Nazi plan to exterminate the Jews. They passed the information on to London and Washington. In December 1942, British Foreign Secretary Anthony Eden stood before the House of Commons and declared the Nazis were now carrying into effect Hitler's oft-repeated intention to exterminate the Jewish people of Europe.